Hey, Jamie. I'm driving, so hopefully you can hear this okay. So, I wanted to share an example of how I experienced my body's aliveness today. I'm driving away from a meeting that I had downtown in Toronto, the city I live near. And it was an interesting meeting. It had lots of lovely little moments of connection in it. And the majority of the meeting was spent sitting still in a boardroom from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. with like breaks for sure and snack breaks and stuff. But like the task was thinking through a problem in healthcare and facilitated conversation, but mostly like listening to other people talk and then thinking of something to say for yourself. And I told you about the first one of these, and it was remarkable on that day to notice how it felt like I had spent the entire day floating up above all of the bodies with everyone else. Like everyone was pretending to not have a body. Instead, we were just one giant thought cloud and thinking at each other. And that had been a not very pleasant experience for me. And then this time it was happening again. Like I was doing some more intention about grounding, but like after lunch, my body was sleepy. My body didn't want to listen anymore. And like some of the subject matter felt less alive and relevant to me personally, which didn't mean it was bad subject matter, but it meant it was not for me to pay attention to. And I noticed that there were so many things about the setting that basically were like inviting me to forget that my body's alive. So it's like, come sit, just use your brain. Like, yes, you have a body, but it's like a life support for your brain. No one said that, but that was like the message is like unconsciously being delivered. Like, don't shift in your seat. Like everyone's holding themselves very still. Everyone's like thinking and talking. They had the shades pulled. We were in this like artificial light room away from nature. But then next to it, like kind of the atrium room that like went into this room was this beautiful room with like tons more windows and light and a beautiful tree and like sun streaming in. And I'd noticed that when I first came in. And so then in the middle of this afternoon where like my body was just resisting how unalive she was supposed to be acting and how automatonish she was, you know, the vibe of the room was like not getting up, not moving around, right? And I just was resisting it. My body was resisting it so hard and was really telling me, please move. And it was telling me by like making me feel super sleepy and really at the same time, very restless and just like tensing all my muscles and like warming them up to be like, please just get out. Just get out. I wasn't even feeling unsafe. I wasn't like upset, but I was just like, I am restless, like that sensation. And so I left and I sat in the sun of that other lovely room and looked at the tree. I pretended to be on my phone. And you know what? Actually, I did actually listen to a voicemail, but then I sat there a while longer not doing that. And like the deliciousness of the sunshine and the way it warmed my skin, that was when I was really allowing my body to feel the aliveness, both by responding to her request to please stop feeling like I needed to be trapped when I wasn't, like just assert your agency in the world. And so then I did, and that was great. And then like feeling the warmth of that. And like, I only stayed out for like, I don't know, 5 minutes, maybe 10 max, but I just felt recharged. And it was funny, like when I went back in the room, like I'd been feeling a little chippy and I've been kind of like feeling grumpy about people. And I'd, been pretending to be writing things that were interesting, but instead I was just writing like grumpy, venti things about like how I felt trapped. I went back in the room and suddenly I had like so much more availability to like, I was re-interested in the conversation, even though the subject matter had not changed. I rediscovered my like affection for everyone. I was way less critical in my mind about what they were saying. And it's not that their thoughts or what they were talking about got better. I just like having accessed my aliveness and recharged. I then was able to like access my compassion and access my creativity and interest in it. And just like that, it just sounds really obvious maybe, but that was my example from today of having like a real sense of aliveness and really reflecting on how so often our social structures, as well as sort of the physical structures, like in rooms away from nature that are designed to just sit and stare at each other, like how they just ignore our aliveness or try to invite us to ignore our aliveness to instead hold our attention or put us into a particular construct. And it's very fun to break free of such invitations from such environments. And also, I much prefer environments where it's readily honored and respected and part of the culture and even the design of the space to remind me of aliveness. So like windows, it's made such a big difference since we moved clinic spaces our old clinic didn't have direct windows that access to the outside world, and our new one does. And I practice medicine better, I swear. And that's because I am more easily and readily connected to and refreshed in my body, just having the natural light, I swear. And I'm just in a better mood all around. And I think that actually applies to others in my office who aren't even practicing embodiment work per se. It's just like a natural thing, you know? Oh, it was fun. That's my story I wanted to share with you. Hey, Jamie. So I have another moment of body aliveness. I'm just out on a little walk run on a beautiful fall morning. I don't know if you can hear. Can you hear if I listen to this? Can you hear that? I'm walking through this wooded lot near my house. That's my favorite because, as I've already said to you, you know, the trees are my sisters. I still don't know exactly what I mean by that, but it's just a true statement that I'll figure out at some point. And there's something about running in the fall, especially, like my body remembers cross-country meets. That was the only sort of competitive sport I was a part of and did not win at all in like high school. And those it's just the crispness and coolness of the air, and the leaves are changing. So there's green ones, but there's yellow ones, there's brown ones, and they're crunching under my feet and my body. She remembers. And also, since I've just been running, I can almost picture the individual red blood cells rumbling through my vascular system. That's what the sort of vibrations feel like blood pumping. It's got this what's the word, turbulent quality to it, where I just picture the little, lifesaver shaped cells. And I'm sweaty, and that means that right now the sweat is cooling on my face. I'm still recovering from that cold a couple of weeks ago, so I've got phlegm building up in my throat, and my nose is running a bit, so I'm sniffling, and I'm alive. And I'm alive in the same way that this tree I'm looking at is alive. So the tree is very still, and I feel very unstill. And I'm alive in a different way, like you said, with the consciousness and everything. I'm experiencing myself be alive in a way that I can never know for sure if the tree gets to experience, but I hope she does. So I thought I'd share this moment with you.
Hi, Joan. I am walking barefoot in the grass in the yard of the place that I stay when I am in Nashville. This beautiful land that is the family home of my teacher, my yoga teacher specifically, my yoga teacher, training teacher, but also she's just my teacher in so many ways, in a similar way that I feel very often that you are my teacher. And many of the women that I'm in relationship with who work in various different expressions of health and human care, I feel that you all are my teachers. And this space is really sacred to me. And I get the incredible gift of getting to do this training, this yoga teacher training on this land in this space that has been really sacred to me for a few years now, I get the additional gift of, and I'm so relieved to say this out loud, of getting to practice here, put my hands on bodies again. And in fact, I am walking in the yard, in the sun, just about 30 minutes before my first client of the week is coming over this evening, and she will be my first of 15. I am doing 15 sessions in the next 8 days, and I don't know if you can tell, but I'm very delighted about it. Oh, hi, baby. There's a little black 3-legged cat named Neo on the property, and he just bounded out to greet me, as he does whenever I am standing barefoot in this yard. I've been thinking of you a lot over these past few days. My yoga teacher training is 3 days in a row, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and there is definitely a luxurious flow throughout the days. We take long lunches. There's an infrared sauna here. Hi, baby. So I always use the sauna in my lunch, and, we're learning about yoga, but we're also practicing yoga. It's mostly like an in-depth study of the sutras. Well, I say mostly. It's an in-depth study of the sutras and many other things. And so we are sitting quite a bit, but we're also, every day of the training, we're doing around a 90-minute asana practice, and we have group meals together. It's a small training. It's the lineage I'm getting trained in is, my teacher is very passionate about returning to the original teaching structure of the practice of yoga, which is a more individualized model. So it's a group of 7 of us, and it feels wonderful to be here. So it's been full days and busy days, and I have missed our little touch points, but I have held you in my heart very fondly, and have been contemplating on this concept that we just. Oh, okay. You're in my lap now, Neo. Great. Oh, wow. On this concept that we just got to talk about and share together about the body being alive. And I was thinking about, the intention that we had decided to put towards our next week after being in that conversation about just noticing the spaces and places and moments where we could feel the aliveness of our bodies. And, to be honest with you, there have been very few moments over the past few days that I haven't felt the close awareness of the aliveness of my body. I move through the world in that way with a really attuned awareness to her aliveness as it is for the most part. Now, when I got here the other day prior to my training, as you know, as we discussed, I was like, I don't know, I was feeling a little depleted before I flew here. And I feel very filled up since the training. And a lot of that is because of just the spaciousness. It's like what I'm learning, but also how I'm learning it. The spaciousness of my time over these past few days and the enlivening I feel over what I'm learning and what I'm practicing, and just this excitement I'm feeling right now over what I'm about to get to do with people and their bodies over the next, 8 days. And then also even just this this precious little 3-legged cat that is very insistent on being in my lap right now. And so he's got his claws on my legs, and I am once again on the first day of my bleed. I apparently love to be in conversation with you when that's happening. I'm curious if you are too, actually. I can feel that sensation in my lower abdomen. I feel the sensation of this cat in my lap. I feel the leaves and the grass under my toes. I feel that kind of tingly, enlivening sensation in my chest and in my stomach, and both the gratitude for this past weekend and the anticipation of this forthcoming week. And I I don't know, it was hard for me to try and pinpoint a single moment or a singular instance of being exceptionally attuned to the aliveness of my body, because here especially, it just feels like I can sense and feel her aliveness all the time, everywhere, in everything I'm doing. And I just feel enormous gratitude that this is what my life gets to look like, and that I get to have these trips, these respites to, temporarily step away from the role I'm living my way into as partner and parent, and I get to come back here and be student and teacher and practitioner. Yeah, it feels right now, in this moment, in this yard with this cat. It all feels really perfect, and I feel grateful, and I feel enormously grateful to get to share this journey and this path with you in particular. So I hope you are having such a beautiful day, and I'm excited to talk again soon.
Hey, Jamie. So good to hear from you. I'm just reflecting on a couple of themes from the stories I've shared and the stories you've just shared for me with the voice memos. And like, one thing I've noticed, and I found it to be true in my life generally, is it's a lot easier to forget my body's aliveness under two circumstances. One, if I'm operating under a story that I must play a certain role, and in that role, my time and my body are not my own, right? So whether it's feelings of obligation tied to caregiving, even partnership sometimes, for me in that meeting of feeling like my role is to sit still and to listen and to respond, like when it feels like someone outside of our bodies are setting the agenda of action, then it's almost like a survival mechanism to pretend our bodies aren't alive and resisting that. I'll say are, not because I'm trying to describe your experience, but just what I heard a little bit from what you described. And certainly that was my experience in that meeting, versus like when I'm running and I'm on my own and I'm doing it for me, my time is my own, in that sense that you described of spaciousness and having a lot of agency, despite having structure of a kind to your yoga training, that spaciousness perhaps invited an easier access to your aliveness. And then the second obvious theme to me was it's a lot easier to forget that you're alive when you're away from other living things. So the fact that so much of our lives are spent separated by walls or other like physical structures away from other alive things. There's other humans, and that's where it kind of gets spicy, because we can never fully forget our aliveness when they're around. But how much easier it is to access my aliveness when I'm out in nature and hearing you, cuddling with that cat out on the grass. If there's someone listening, or if I'm talking to someone and they have trouble accessing their aliveness, not for everyone, I'm sure, but for many people, getting into some kind of nature outdoors, even if it's a bracing weather or whatever is going on, like you can't help but notice your body just like lights up, or it does for me anyway, So I just wanted to reflect back. Those are two themes I heard in what we've shared with each other about that. And thanks for the reminder that probably my period is coming soon. It hasn't come yet, but I'm feeling early warning signs. So I think you're right on the money. I always love talking to you, Janie. Thanks.
Joan, it's so interesting that you shared everything you shared in your last voice memo, because, of course, as tends to happen, so much of what you said has been expressed as themes in my client sessions over the past few days. I am currently a third of the way through. As of right now, I've done 5 hands-on sessions out of what will be 15 in 8 days. And I'm feeling so good. I'm very aware of the aliveness of my body right now. But something that just came to me in this moment as I'm attempting to really tune in to the aliveness of my body, getting outside after my second session of the day ended, where I was inside and talking and navigating my way around a massage table and talking some more for about 7.5 total hours today. My body made it really clear that she wanted to come outside and go for a walk before the sun went completely down. And so I'm walking along this little 2-lane highway in this sweet town outside of Nashville, and I'm facing the moonrise right now. The sky is all these beautiful, subtle hues of blues and pinks and purples, and it's a full moon tonight, and the moon is enormous and low and so bright and just getting brighter. I mean, once again, I'm just feeling very grateful for everything. But what I wanted to say before I get too hung up in describing this glorious scene that you cannot actually see right now is this sentence that came to mind in hearing your last voice memo and in beginning my walk and reflecting on my sessions today, that I dream of a world that moves at the pace of bodies. I do. I really do. And I know you do too. And I find imagining that world could be possible to be comforting. I find it to be enlivening in and of itself. And then one more thing I wanted to share as these cars zoom past me before I wrap this up is I was once again bringing conscious awareness to the aliveness of my body throughout my sessions today. And there was a moment where I was working on my second client, and I had this kind of, moment of, maybe we'll call it lucidity. I'm not really sure what it was a moment of, but I looked at my hands and I became really aware of the fact that my hands, the way that they look right now, is not how they will look forever. And again, that's probably a conceptually obvious statement, but I just had this flash of a moment of imagining what my old lady hands are going to look like. And like my old lady hands, like still working on people's bodies and touching bodies. And I just, it made me, again, really delighted to remember the changes and the change that my body is going through every single second. And that's what brought to mind to me my awareness of her aliveness. Is to be alive is to be permanently changing. And she is permanently changing. And I felt this moment of like an overflow of delight about the fact that not just that she is permanently changing, but that I get to have the lived experience in partnership with her where I am getting to participate in and bear witness to those changes and celebrate those changes and love those changes and not resist those changes. And that only gets to happen. I only get to meet her in brand new, ever unfolding ways precisely because she is alive. And I feel very grateful for the ever-changing nature of my extraordinarily alive body this evening as I walk towards the rising moon on a cold October evening, and the earth is reminding me of her nature of constant change as well. So I hope you're having a beautiful night where you are, and I'll talk to you soon.
Hey, Jamie. Yep, I definitely share your dream. Imagine actually what it would look like if we all just had, as a culture and society, respect and honoring the pace of our human bodies and the fact that they change over time. I enjoy dreaming of that world with you and co-creating it with you by embodying it ourselves, right? That's how it happens. Also, my period totally came, so we knew that was going to happen. Goodbye. This is Experiential Anatomy. Thanks for listening. I'm Joan Chan.
And I'm Jamie Lee Finch. Experiential Anatomy is co-hosted and created by us.
Amber Wyndham is the editor. Julia Wyndham is the supervising producer.
Senior producer is Elizabeth Wyndham. Erin Beatty leads our community management.
Our theme music is Park Pier 3 by G's Guy.
If you have any thoughts, questions, or stories to share about this week's episode, email us at exanatomy@gmail.com.
Please follow, rate, and review on your favorite podcast platform. And remember to join us over at exanatomy.substack.com.
Experiential Anatomy is produced by Windhaven Productions.
City near whoop.